I'm Gold Derby News and Features Editor Ray Richmond, and I'm welcoming Kevin Thompson from the Netflix biopic Maestro to our film production designers Meet the Experts panel. Kevin, in chronicling the love story between composer-conductor Leonard Bernstein and his wife Felicia Montelegre, much is shot early on in black and white. How did that impact your production designs?
Well, I think when we started looking at the deep dive into the research of what was available, um, the decision early on was to shoot in black and white film and then different color stock films, depending on the era. And because it spanned so many decades, we felt that the imagery was very familiar in black and white because that was what a lot of what we were seeing in the videos and in photographs from the period. So um, we thought that starting out in the tone for the romance of them meeting and before they got married and all that Tanglewood stuff, it was appropriate to do black and white and um, almost make it like a 40s movie. Uh, when you do black and white, you have to test the film stock to see how the colors react to it, so that some mid-tone colors all look the same, some colors turn to black. You want a certain amount of contrast, you want texture to sort of pop. So we did uh, film stock tests and then use those as a guide to what happened with colors.
What was it like to craft your designs in part while shooting in the real life Bernstein family home in Connecticut?
Well, the great thing about the real life home was that it still contained a lot of the details of the family. So I was able to really feel an intimate connection to how they lived and how they raised how they spent their summers and how they raised their family, since the family was such an important part of the story. Um, and I could take, like, for instance, Felicia's paintings were still on the walls. All the little personal scrapbooks were there. His original piano that he composed on. Um, and I I could take the knowledge that I got from spending time in that home and spending time with the family into their other homes, the legendary Dakota apartment that we reconstructed, the Osborne apartment, even the early Carnegie Hall apartment that uh, Bernstein used as a studio when he got his first break at Carnegie Hall.
Didn't I? So I think I read that the Bernstein home hadn't been much updated since 1989. I guess that's
That's
pretty much
correct.
that's
That's
what you
correct.
found.
Yeah,
Wow.
we adjusted things to make it fresher and and adjusted for the period and got the details right depending on what decade we were in.
Clearly, the Bernstein children were incredibly supportive and collaborative
Yeah,
too. That had to make your job a whole lot easier. What
it
what
made it
kinds
more
of things?
it made
What
it
what did
more
they?
interesting. Yeah, because there is so much information to look at, and when you start doing a period movie about um, anything, you go deep into the tactical, tangible things that you want to get correct in the decades. Um, but the Bernstein children would sit and tell stories about their parents, and again, it was so key for Bradley to get the emotional core of each scene correct, and it had to be through understanding and the intimate details of these two characters. And I think that played a big role in the design because you needed their life to the milieus of where they lived and their different homes, and also the concert halls and the worlds they lived in this sort of passionate, creative environment that they lived in New York and traveled a lot. You needed to get the emotional core right. And I think it really helped by getting into the family secrets.
Did they share a lot with you in terms of home appearance and set decoration?
No, they kind of left me alone for that. They were helpful when I had questions. Um, they uh, could tell me what year certain paintings were made, by Felicia, so we could know if they were correct or not. We treated the periods, the different decades, kind of like a piece of music where we wanted it to lyrically flow from time period to time period with color, costume, palettes, without sort of stamping 1943, 1947, 1969. We wanted it to just feel like we were moving through time with them and feeling the decades and feeling the period that they were in by the clothes and the hairstyles and the backgrounds and the decoration.
And they opened up their private scrapbooks, Jamie and Nina and Alexander, to you also, didn't they? That had to take things to a deeper emotional level for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, there's an endless amount of information that you can read and watch on video, endless amount of photographs that you can obtain through other sources, but they somehow deepened the experience of the research.
You utilized a whole lot of different decades in the period design, which I imagine, Kevin, took some pretty deep technical research on your part.
Yeah, you start, as I was saying before, you start by getting each period right, and then you go to the non-tangible part and understand with Bradley how we wanted the scenes to transition from one to another, and how the emotional aspect of whatever was important in that scene could best be sort of filled in terms of the background that they were in, whether it be the home they were in, the bedroom for the argument with the Snoopy balloon, the details of those things, what was happening in that scene, what was, you take it beyond the technical at a certain point, and you start to you try to feed the story of the intimacy of these two people and their relationship, which was a universal story. It still speaks to people today. I hope we can all take something from this and see something familiar, but you wanted to make it feel like it was of the period, so that you could get a real feeling that this was authentically a creative couple living in this period in New York.
And you totally did. I mean, and especially with black and white and all that too, it really gives you that feeling. But you never felt like the children were peering over your shoulder and making sure
no, they were never
their memory.
Yeah. They were never on set. They were a useful tool during pre-production and a few questions while we were shooting, but they were never on set. They never had. Bradley had full control of what he wanted to do, the story he wanted to tell, and what he did was he found the story through his own deep dive research, but then it was filled in by having a relationship with the family. Yeah. Which is why it's not really a biopic as much as it is a sort of classic love story, I think.
Yeah, and certainly a slice of the family life is you're right. It isn't a classic biopic. It doesn't take him from childhood through death.
Right.
How closely did you work with Bradley? He is, after all, the writer, director, producer, star.
Extremely.
He washed the dishes too, probably.
Yeah, he would come to set every morning, like if it was a 7 o'clock call, in character, and he would block and plan the first shot in character. He'd already been in hair and makeup from anywhere from 2 to 5 hours, and wardrobe. And even during pre-production, we had a lot of pre-production time. He lives a few blocks from me, so we could spend a lot face to face. And he would even do meetings in the character, practicing the voice he would do meetings with me, and we got in it very deeply together. And he was an incredible sort of conductor of his team of filmmakers. He sort of understood what each person did really well, and he was an incredible leader in terms of giving us all a connection to the other departments so that we could work together and make it a solid vision. And I think that really credits a great director when they can do that.
No question. We're going to wrap things there. Kevin Thompson, good luck to you this coming awards season.
Thank you.
Maestro, starring Bradley Cooper and Carey Mulligan, hits theaters in limited release on November 22, before streaming on Netflix beginning December 20th. Thanks for joining us today at Gold Derby.
Thank you.